What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Hi, I'm Harold Bell, and this is the Legends of Inside Sports and the Way We Were. Welcome. And of course, I got my partner in crime here, Mr. Chris Johnson, a graduate of Gwynn Park High School in Prince George's County, native Prince George's County, grew up here. Chris is also a contributor to BlackMenInAmerica.com, where his father, uh, Gary Johnson, is the CEO, and I'm also a part of that family. Today, here on Inside Sports, we want to take a look at what's going on, not only in sports, but what's going on in the country. Chris, Trump has surrendered and has allowed federal government workers to return to work, but for how long? He got nothing for his wall. So how long is this going to last, Chris?
Well, like I say, he says for 3 weeks, but like we don't know because he's been negotiating against himself. He's had no leverage.
Right.
He's got the same deal that he had on the table in December. There's nowhere for him to go. There's nothing for him to negotiate with. I think enough of the American people understands that it's not really a crisis at the border.
Mm-hmm.
So him trying to declare a national emergency, I think he's flirting with that,
Mm-hmm.
trying to toss that out there to see how people react to it. But that's likely to get caught up in the courts anyway, because Trump's not very smart politically.
Right.
So if he does that, his wall will probably get caught up in the courts and not get made, or he's not going to get enough money. This is really, again, he frames it as a border security issue, and it's really just, it's a monument to Trump. He needs something to show his base because he wasted his first 2 years serving the swamp or the people he was pretending to fight, the Wall Street, the people that he gave all tax breaks to him and his buddies. So if he really wanted the wall, he could have gotten it when he had the House, the Senate, and the White House. So now all of a sudden the Democrats get some control and Mueller turns up the heat. Then all of a sudden we got to shut down the whole government now. So I think it's pretty transparent. I think people see through it. I think it's absurd the way he keeps touting that the federal workers are on his side when they're clearly not. They're going to food banks and missing checks. So I mean, it's really nowhere to go for him. I think he's boxed in. Even I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi, but like she's doing her job right now.
That's right.
She didn't cave, which is something the Democrats are famous for.
Yeah. What about it looks like a double Trump aide has bit the dust. I mean, this guy's house was raided, and we in the dawn hours of the morning, they had about 27 FBI agents over there with bulletproof vests on. What was that all about, Chris?
It's Roger Stone and his arrest. Basically, everyone around Trump is going down with some shady dealings, but I think the media has to be careful with this Russia investigation because there's something that Trump and his camp is saying that I think does ring true, that outside of the Washington Beltway circle, I don't think middle America cares a lot about that investigation until something is, definitive, like Trump's in some handcuffs or something.
Right.
But all these, financial high crimes and things, they don't really land with the people. So although I think the investigation is legitimate and they need to keep boxing Trump in,
I
because
think that's exactly what they're doing.
that's what they're doing. Boxing him in because slow and methodical and just get the details. It might be boring and it take a long time, but there are crimes there. I think anyone with a brain can see that there are at least some white collar financial shady dealings he has with Russia. I don't think he's a Russian agent like they're playing up or some spy or something.
No, I don't think he's a Russian agent either. I just think that Russia had something on him.
Yeah.
With all those dealings that he had going over there, especially with the beauty.
All that.
The beauty cartel. They'll tell him what kind of tapes they got on him over there. So they got something on him. I don't think he's a part of a conspiracy as far as being a spy for Russia. A lot of folks too, man, are throwing their hats into the ring for the White House in 2020. Tell me what you think about that.
I have a lot of opinions about that, especially, the Democratic side. Like I said, the Republicans, there are some whispers that Mitt Romney or somebody might try to primary Trump or if he gets in too much trouble with the Mueller stuff. But what's really important is what the Democrats are going to do. And
that's right.
Did they learn their lesson from the 2016 debacle? I saw a CNN story today talking about Hillary Clinton is leaving the door open to run. which would be an
please.
unmitigated disaster.
I'm telling you.
So like, I don't even want to address that because that's so ridiculously bad that that's not even worth talking about. But some of the contenders that they're pumping up right now, I think the media and establishment favorites on the Democratic side, Kamala Harris just announced that she's a media darling. People love her in the media, but but her record is very questionable if you look at it.
Yeah.
And not just her criminal justice record, which is where her background is, but also on issues like the main progressive issues that are important to the Democratic base. She's very similar to Hillary Clinton. She's come along very recently on things like gay marriage and legalizing marijuana and things like that are kind of mainstream in the Democratic Party now. A little slow on that boat. So I'm not a huge fan. And me and my father were just talking about this. I don't think people they took the bait on Kamala Harris. I really hate the Democrats relying on identity politics. Not about, we're looking at her record, but they want to say, look, she's a black woman. Don't you want to vote for her because she's a black woman? And I think Trump, as much as he broke, he illuminated that, and especially people in my generation, we don't care about that. We don't care about identity politics. Like, Obama was black, but he didn't do a lot once he got in that office, being black. So I think people, we're not falling for that anymore. So Kamala, I'll wait and see, but right now I'm not a fan. I look at her record. I look at that first campaign ad that she put out on Martin Luther King Day, and it very much reminded me of Hillary Clinton's ads last election cycle. No policy substance, but just flowery words. She said, I stand for democracy and decency and good things. Like I want to know, are you going to stand for a living wage? Do you want to end the wars? What are you going to do for the community? Not that you're for decency. Like, we're beyond those games.
I question her too because of her criminal justice background.
Yeah, that record.
What has she done as it relates to this police brutality around the country? What have you done? This stuff. Black folks are still being shot down in the streets. Black folks. This is a dangerous time for black folks. I mean, driving while black.
Anything.
Walking while black, living while black. You're barbecuing by black, or jumping rope in front of your house. So what are you doing about that? Those are the important issues that we care about. Employment. How is it that in 2019 a black man still makes half the salary of a white man? The redlining and mortgage banking is still going on. A home is what it takes you into the middle class, but we're being denied on all fronts, man.
And like I said, that's the type of information I would have liked to see in her ad.
Right.
I want to know what you're about. I want to know what you're going to fight for. I want to know what your policy positions are. I don't need funky 80s music and flowery words. Like, this is like, we're in the era of Trump. This is not a game anymore. We're not falling for the 1994 style politician anymore. We want someone who's real and who cares about what they're fighting for. Like, we're done with that. Yeah, I want policy specifics. Like, what are you gonna do? For us, not, just who are you?
Yeah, and I'm black and I'm a woman. You should vote for me.
Exactly, which is why they blame, they wag the finger at millennials and try to use identity politics. But our favorite candidate is like a 107-year-old white guy, Bernie Sanders. So it's not about identity politics. It's about because he's been consistent. His voting record has been consistent over 40, 50 years. He's very policy specific. I'm about a living wage. I'm about, keeping the corporations in check and, things like that. That's what we want to know. So it's not about who you are, not you young, hip, and black. It's about what you stand for.
What you stand for. That's the bottom line.
Black, white, old, young, I don't care. It's about your policies.
Right. Chris, let's flip the coin now and go over to some sports. Been closely watching the Washington Wizards. Washington Wizards took one of the top teams, the Raptors, into overtime, which is a game they should have won. They also played a great game against the Golden State Warriors. They hadn't blown them layups down at the end of the game, thrown the ball away. And the thing that really blew my mind of watching that game was that the Warriors didn't use the front door. They used the back. They killed them on backdoor passes to the basket, man.
That's what people forget about the Warriors. They're sound.
Man, they're sound.
All forms of basketball. Not just those threes and that flashy stuff. They play great defense, and they play great fundamental basketball. Backdoor cuts, things like that. Killing you with the basics.
Yeah. And the thing about it, let's face it, man. If they stay healthy, with
Oh,
Cousins
oh
now
no, it's
part of it, and I
no.
like the way Kerr is handling Cousins. He's not letting them play all those minutes. He's resting him, making until he gets sharp. There's no doubt about it. He's looking sharp right now,
Yeah,
as
it looks
far as I'm
good already.
concerned. You know. So the Washington Wizards really, and I look at them and I think of John Wall being they playing better basketball without John Wall. You know, it's too bad that they're stuck with that contract, and I think they would have to get rid of the best player in Bill. I think Bill they would have to they would have to get something for him. Nobody's gonna take that contract that John Wall has.
Coming off that surgery too,
Oh
another
yeah,
surgery. So it's
yeah.
gonna be tough. And like I said, I've been saying that for the past 2 seasons. You should have you got to trade while the value's high. And
Mm-hmm.
John Wall's a great player, but this is the second year in a row we're talking about is the team better without playing better without him, better
Mm-hmm.
chemistry. Things are looking a little bit better. So I think they might have missed their boat. There might be maybe a bad team that's willing to go in on that contract.
Mm-hmm.
So for the John Wall situation, I think they can maybe do something similar to what the Clippers did with Blake Griffin to maybe
Mm-hmm.
go to a franchise that's hungry for a star, like an Orlando or maybe even the Knicks or something like that, who's hungry for a big star and maybe have somebody reach for that contract. But yeah, like as you said, Bradley Beal is the most attractive piece on your team, but he's
Mm-hmm.
also the piece you don't want to let go.
That's
If you're
right.
going to build around anybody that's on the roster now, you want to build around Bradley Beal. So they're in a real tough position. Yeah, coming to the trade deadline, they're going to have to figure out what they want to do, what they want to go forward with Beal and try to retool next year, which I think is a mistake to keep coming back
Mm-hmm.
with the same roster and thinking something's going to change or try to blow it up. But yeah, now you're in a tough position because Otto is coming off the bench now for $100 million.
Mm.
Otto Porter. So
Woo.
you got $100 million being your six man. Like again, no disrespect to Otto, but you're
Oh
getting
yeah.
paid entirely too much money to not even be a starter, getting the
Yeah.
max contract. So they're financially again to just put themselves in basketball purgatory. Like there's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of moves you can make
Mm-hmm.
without trading your best player.
Right. 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 I I just think I'm impressed too with the young guy in the middle there. What's
Oh,
his name?
Thomas Bryant, yeah,
Oh
he's
man, I'm
playing
impressed
great
with him,
ball.
man.
Yeah,
Oh man, his development, he's gonna be something else.
yeah, keep him.
I like his confidence, and I like his go get it, man. You know, he just an enthusiastic man, and that's what they need, man, really. And I think the guy they just got back, what's his name? My man, the veteran that just came back. They traded for him.
Oh, Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, I think Trevor is making a
Oh,
great contribution,
yeah, definitely. My
on
yeah,
both ends.
my issue with that trade wasn't that Ariza's not a good player that can come in
Hmm.
and help you right now. It's just I felt like he was better suited to be for a contending team. Like he
Right,
could have been that piece to put a contending team. So I
right.
was just kind of scratching my head why the Wizards in the position they're in
I
to
think
try
what
to get him.
happened. I think what happened there, Chris, is they were looking for some leadership,
Yeah,
some
that's what
veteran leadership,
locker room.
and that's what. Yeah, and I think that's why they brought back Ariza back. I think that might have been a good move. You know, Facebook reminded me today that 3 years ago today, NBA color analyst Charles Barkley was on discussing the player hating on quarterback Cam Newton on a sports talk show hosted by Dan Patrick. 3 years ago Cam was heading to the Super Bowl,
Oh yeah.
and here again, the kettle calling the pot black. Now I'm not talking about Charles Barkley. For decades, I've been pointing out the last plantations in America are sports arenas around this country, pro and college, to include media press rooms at deadline. On February 7th, Black History Month 2016, the 50th annual Super Bowl will be played while the NBA has one token black owner. Okay? NFL had no black owners. They now got one, with the Carolina Panthers, where
Yeah.
Cam Newton is, But, as we look at our history, and we're looking at Major League Baseball having no black ownership, but several token black minority owners who are just tokens. I'm talking about James Brown and Magic Johnson claiming that they're minority owners, but they know they're not minority owners. They have to ask to go to the bathroom. But in the meantime, the NFL has zero ownership at that time, but now they got a black. Well, he's a minority. He's not black. He's not black. I don't know if he's Indian or whatever, but they have a minority on it. But the thing about it, Chris, I have yet to see a black face on the Dan Patrick Show. You ever see the Dan Patrick
I've seen
Show?
that back and
He doesn't have a black face on there, but he sucks in black athletes like Charles Barkley to discuss racism in the NFL. Dan Patrick is not an equal opportunity employer. I've been waiting for the day when someone like Charles Barkley calls Patrick out for the racist that he is. I want you to listen, and I want Chris to watch this link for the interview. And Chris, you count the black faces in studio working with Patrick on this particular show, and this is what has been going on ever since this guy has been on the air. You know, I know Charles Barkley can get on our nerves sometimes, but you know, he should never have to apologize for playing the race card as he does during this interview with Dan Patrick. But Barkley tackles racism better than most black athletes. I got to give him that.
keeps it real.
Yeah, he keeps it real. He never should have to apologize for playing the race card because it is there when he wakes up in the morning and is there when he goes to bed at night. We all know that. No one plays the race card better than major media, and Barkley admitted he sees racism every day. I want you guys to take a listen to this interview. Hold on. Bear with me. I got it on here somewhere. Sometime my computer can act up on me. But here it is.
I'm surprised at the fallout with how people view the Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton, how much fun they have. Even if they're giving footballs to little kids here. Why is it that people have a hard time processing the Panthers and Cam Newton?
Well, I hate bringing up the race card because there's more important race stuff. Like, the race does have something to do with it, number one. But I think that, they rub it in pretty good, in fairness. But there is a racial component, but I hate talking about that because we as black people, we got way more important things where race is a factor than something silly like sports. So I think, man, let me tell you something. As much as I love Cam Newton, if I played against Cam Newton, I put a hit on him, no question. Because, man, they rub it in pretty good. It's fun to watch, I guess, as a fan. If you like Carolina, and I love sports, they're having so much fun. But it wouldn't be a lot of fun to play against. Because if you're dabbing and Superman and you're kicking my butt, I'm going to get the players together. I said, the first guy can hit that guy, take him out. We got to get rid of him because they rub it in pretty good. And that has something to do with it also. But there is a racial component, to be honest with you, Dan. I hate that because we as black people got way more important crap to worry about than stuff like that.
But do you think...
And ESPN's already started their crap about black versus white, good versus evil. And I know a lot of those fools over there got radio talk shows, but you can still see they're framing this narrative. Black against white, good against evil. It really annoys the hell out of me. We really just can't appreciate the greatness of Peyton, and clearly Cam is on the track to become one of the greatest players ever. But I just hate, you can already see him framing the narrative, black versus white, good versus evil. And that's the problem. You have 2 weeks in between games. But they're both great players. They're both good guys. But, a lot of these fools on ESPN got radio shows, and the best way to make talk radio good is make it racial. Because you bring in every fool in the world when you bring up race. Because race is a very serious subject, because you got so many fools out there, they can't have an honest, fair conversation on race.
But is it Cam being black playing quarterback that people have a problem with in your mind? Or that how he celebrates, or what? Or is it all encompassing?
Well, listen. First of all, there's a long history of how a lot of black quarterbacks have been ruined because they weren't allowed to play quarterback. I think it's not that simple. I just think that he's so exuberant. even the stuff you go back to Auburn, there's some of that there too, which, as I always said, if we gave Cam Newton $200,000 to come to Auburn, boy, that was a good investment. I wish my financial people had good investments like that. But like I say, I think there's some resentment there. I mean, go back to the thing with the Alabama tree points. There's always some resentment there. But like I say, I think he's just great, and some people resent their exuberance.
Well, some people resent his exuberance. I was watching the Golden State Warriors the other night, and I was watching the kid shoots the ball. What's the name?
Curry.
Curry. Great athlete, no doubt about it. But that stuff that he be doing, that little dance stuff, man, if he done that back in the day, man, they would knock him out. And look, they would knock him out. He wouldn't get he would never drive to the basket. They would knock him out. So I understand exactly where Charles Barkley is coming from. But this is the modern day athlete. So they're allowed to get away with that kind of stuff. But racism is going to come in there. So I think it's a racist thing too, because some black folks don't want to see. Some white folks don't want to see black folks enjoying themselves. At their expense. They paying their money. They want you to just go out there and play ball and just be sour.
Yeah, they don't want you showboating. That's the NFL cracked down on their celebrations a few years ago. They've lightened up now, but it's just that whole thing. And like, I understand what you're saying too. Like, there is part of it is his personality and the celebrations and all that, but the extra sauce on everything. But at the same time, especially when it comes to the NFL part, there's always been a racial component to quarterbacks playing NFL, especially in certain cities. Even talking about not this past season, but the season before, the Buffalo fans didn't want Tyrod Taylor, and it wasn't all because of his play, and things like that. Certain towns and certain demographics, they have preconceived notions. That I think we covered it earlier this year. The teacher down in Texas who was talking about Deshaun Watson and saying black quarterbacks, you can't have, they're not intelligent, basically, is what it came down to. And a lot of people have those preconceived notions, and it clouds their judgment. Even the scouts and the people on ESPN. Again, I always bring up this in comparison because it's the rookies that came in this class, but Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson had almost the same completion percentage in college. But Josh Allen, they said, oh, he could play quarterback, but Lamar Jackson needs to change positions. Well, they got the same completion. They're hitting at the same rate. Well, I only see one difference. One looks, one's black, one's white, and the white guy, they just can assume he'll get the playbook. He'll be able to get that completion percentage up. Well, why didn't Lamar Jackson get afforded that same luxury? Saying he can learn the playbook and get better. So I feel like every time there's an athletic black quarterback, he's asked to change positions.
Yeah.
Every time, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, this is the Legend of Inside Sports. I'm Harold Bell, and that's my partner there, Chris Johnson. And we're talking about the game called life, really. Here on Inside Sports, we deal with the game called life. And that's what's happening, man. There's so much racism. We are really hustling backwards. In fact, I heard Jim Brown say on one of those shows on YouTube that this is the worst that he's seen racism in his lifetime. Jim Brown, Jim and I are about the same age, so that's in the 80s. So he is absolutely right. I never thought I would see racism this bad in my lifetime. I thought that we would have made some progress by now. Chris, we're getting ready to head down to Charlotte, North Carolina for the NBA All-Star game. We get ready to head down to Charlotte, North Carolina again for the CIAA basketball tournament. Then we're going down the road several miles to Atlanta for the Super Bowl. Now, here are three entities where black folks are the prime entertainment.
We are the show.
We are the entertainment.
Take us out. There is no show.
Yeah, there's no show without us. But you're going into the NBA All-Star game with 32 teams and only one black owner. And I think we're down to 3 head coaches.
I think it goes back to what we were saying with politics now. I think the mindset is changing, and that token stuff. Like, it's not just about identity pop. Now we want to see black owners, not just figureheads,
That's
not just
right.
people, not just mouthpieces and spokespeople. People
Mm-hmm.
have stake in the game. Now it's about moving to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Where I don't think it's fooling anybody anymore. Like I said, the
No.
mouthpieces and
Mm-hmm.
trotting out Doug Williams to do your dirty work like the
Yeah.
Redskins and stuff. We
Mm-hmm.
want real power and real ownership and real change.
I'm gonna tell you something else too, man. I haven't said that I watched. The charade that's going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Antonio Brown and the head coach. I think the coach lost the players, including Antonio Brown, when those players were kneeling. He was not going to allow any of them to kneel. I think he said, "You cannot kneel." As simple as that. And I think that's what he lost. Guys like Antonio Brown and probably several others. I think that he's safe with his job because they are the ones started the Rooney Rule, so it wouldn't look great for them to kick him out the door.
Yeah, right.
So these kind of things are happening. A lot of people are not watching. We're going down to Super Bowl 53. A lot of people are complaining about that Gladys Knight shouldn't be singing the national anthem. Well, let me tell you guys right now that are not aware, and no one responded to me on Facebook when I said this, that Gladys Knight has paid her dues. She did not run off the mouth. She put her money where her mouth was with the civil rights movement. She marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. Gladys Knight is not getting too many opportunities now, folks. She's on the way out. And this is her hometown. So yes, I will give Gladys, I will look the other way because she's going to sing the national anthem in her hometown at the Super Bowl. I think it's great. So, people like that that's been in the struggle, been in the war zones. We can't say that she doesn't know what's happening. She knows exactly what is happening. And will speak out whenever the time permits itself. But to say Gladys should turn her back and walk away from that opportunity, I don't think so, Chris.
No, I don't agree. As I play music too, so like the sports person in me has to deal with the musician side of me, and I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
if my band got an opportunity to play the Super Bowl, regardless of what I think about the NFL right now politically, that's a time for me that I could use their platform to send a
Mm-hmm.
message. So yeah, absolutely. I don't fault anybody. Like I said, the halftime act, Travis Scott is a big rapper, big people in my generation. I'm actually a fan of his music, but they're having the same discussion. Like, I feel
Right,
like,
right,
is he a traitor for doing the halftime
right,
show
right.
and leaving, but at the same time, as an artist, that's literally one of the biggest platforms you'll ever have to
Right.
reach an audience that would never have heard of you, casual fans. So get your music out there and you can do more difference, make a bigger difference once you boost your profile, get your message out there. And then you can say whatever you want. Then people
That's
actually
right.
listen to you.
That's right. That's right. So folks, you know, we got to stop falling for uh just anything and stand for something. We don't stand for anything. I found out that when you guys hear me getting on the James Brown and the Michael Wilbons and the Dave Aldridge, because I know them personally. They came through me. They didn't get that type of attitude, man, of cooning from Harold Bell. You understand? Now I can understand that they got to have a job, take care of their family, but we don't know how to help each other once we have success. Once we have success, we forget and just walk away. We don't reach back and say, Harold, look here, this is what's happening. And here's a donation for kids in trouble. Here to help send a kid. We don't do that. The Sugar Ray Leonards, the John Thompson, the Kathy Hughes, all them people that you hear me talking about, I know personally. So I resent it when I see us turning our backs on each other like we had it all the time. We had money all the time. We didn't have a hard time growing up. We didn't grow up black. So I can understand Michael Wilbon, David Aldridge, James Brown. They didn't grow up in no black community. I mean, they grew up in Washington, D.C., but they never came to the inner city. You understand? They went to private schools like DeMatha. James Brown played over at Turkey Thicket. Man, he didn't come to the inner city to play no basketball. So I can understand kind of why they have an identity as being a black man because they never grew up in the inner city. They never went to Cardozo or Phelps or the public. They went to public schools maybe early, but they end up going to Harvard and American U and Northwestern, man, that's where you lose your identity. I don't say you should not take advantage of those situations, but take advantage of them. But be the spook that sit by the door and come back and help somebody else once you get that platform. Chris, I'm gonna ahead and let you have the last word going out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just in politics and in sports, like I said, it needs to be more of a grassroots effort. We got to do it together, and we have to challenge some of these institutions that we haven't been thinking of challenging. And I think that we have to take the positive from the Trump presidency, and it's opened a lot of eyes. Like it's a lot of stuff I think people were asleep to because Obama was a smooth talking dude
Yeah,
and kind of cool and seemed like he was on the up and up while still drone striking people and deporting people. So now there's an ugly face on it. People are really, really awake and they're aware, and I think we have to use that energy and try to make the best out of it.
Okay, Chris, tell us how you guys doing with the Cortland Experience. What you guys doing?
Oh, we got some shows coming up actually. Like we're working on some stuff with our new label Seven Dream Records up in New York to get that first single out for you guys. So we have a spring release date for you guys tentatively. So once I have an exact date, we'll know more this weekend. We're going to do some recording this coming weekend to get that song finished. And so we're excited to finally have an official single coming out for you guys very, very soon, spring at the latest.
And you can catch Chris on blackmeninamerica.com with this interview, with his written blog, and me. You catch us there. Also, my new book. I'm coming out with my second volume now of my walk through American sports history with champs and chumps. You can get there. You can go up there. Just go up to click on books and reviews, and you can see where you can purchase the book and read the reviews. Well, that's going to be it. For this segment of the Legends of Inside Sports. I want you to remember that every black face you see is not your brother, and every white face is not your enemy. Until next time, I'm Harold Bell, and you can color me gone. And that's my homeboy, my main man, Marvin Gaye, taking us out of here. Bye.